Welcome to the voice of Ibrahim Traoré, where we dive into the most shocking, heart-stopping moments from the world of political intrigue and suspense. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our explosive revelations. Today's story is unlike anything you've ever heard. A sitting president surrounded by hundreds of bodyguards, assassinated in his own office, at his desk, in front of a room full of his most trusted men. This is the incredible true story of the assassination attempt on Ibrahim Traoré in his fight for survival. But who did this, and why? It was just another ordinary day at the presidential palace in Ouagadougou. The sun was high, casting golden rays through the large windows of Ibrahim Traoré's office. The hustle and bustle outside seemed to fade into silence as the president sat behind his massive desk, poring over documents that demanded his urgent attention. The weight of the presidency had become a heavy burden, and global political pressures were mounting with each passing day. But Ibrahim Traoré had never shied away from a challenge. He was known for his bold leadership, his iron resilience, and his unwavering commitment to the future of Burkina Faso. With every decision, he moved carefully, strategically, ensuring the survival and strength of a nation in a world where power was always on the edge. But today felt different. There was a strange unease in the air. Despite the palace's impenetrable security, his office was a fortress, every inch monitored by high-level surveillance. Outside, 200 elite bodyguards stood at the ready, a hand-picked team sworn to protect him. They were trained, they were loyal, they were lethal. This was not a man who could be easily touched. And yet, that morning, something was about to happen that would change everything. Ibrahim was deep in focus, his pen gliding across the page as he took notes. The room was quiet. Only the faint sound of writing and the soft hum of the air conditioner filled the air. His personal assistant, Marie, stood by the door, waiting patiently as he finished. But then, without warning, the atmosphere shifted. The office door creaked open. One of the senior bodyguards, Captain Mamadou, stepped in. He was a giant of a man, his presence commanding, his reputation legendary for handling even the most dangerous threats. But today, Mamadou's face was tense. His eyes flicked nervously toward the hallway as though something was coming. "Mr. President," Captain Mamadou began, his voice low and serious, "there's a situation outside the palace. I'm not sure if it's connected, but we've received movement reports near the outer perimeter." Ibrahim didn't look up. His mind spun through the possibilities. "Any direct threat?" he asked calmly. "Not yet, sir," Mamadou replied, but the unease in his tone was unmistakable. "We've increased security just in case. I just wanted you to be aware." Ibrahim finally raised his eyes to meet Mamadou's. "Thank you, Captain. I'll take it from here." Mamadou gave a short nod and stepped out. Ibrahim's mind drifted. There had been whispers of regional instability, but he couldn't afford to be distracted by rumors. He had a nation to lead. Every second mattered. He stood from his desk, walking to the window. From there, he could see the grounds, the guards patrolling, weapons in hand, alert and ready. The perimeter looked secure. The palace looked secure, or so he thought. Suddenly, without any warning, a deafening explosion rocked the air. A bang, followed by another. Then another. Rapid, relentless. Ibrahim spun around, his heartbeat thundering. The gunfire wasn't from the perimeter. It was coming from inside the palace. Too close. Far too close. His office erupted into chaos. Guards burst in, weapons drawn, eyes wide with panic. A commotion roared outside the door. Gunfire could still be heard as more bodyguards scrambled to take action. Ibrahim felt his blood run cold. This was no ordinary threat. His heart pounded violently as the situation unraveled before him. And then, in the blink of an eye, the unthinkable had happened. Another massive explosion rocked the palace. The doors to his office burst open. A masked figure stepped into the room, their movements sharp, swift, and calculated. Ibrahim's bodyguards sprang into action, drawing their weapons, but they were too late. The assassin was already inside, too fast, too deadly. A single gunshot rang out, sharp, loud, final. The world slowed around Ibrahim. Time froze. He looked down. Blood, dark, warm blood seeped through his shirt. The pain hit instantly, a searing, burning sensation in his chest as the bullet tore into him. The agony gripped him like fire. His bodyguards lunged at the intruder, but it was too late. The assassin's mission was complete. Ibrahim stumbled, his knees buckling, his body slamming into the edge of the desk. The room spun, everything blurred. Shouts echoed beyond the office, but it all felt so far away. His vision dimmed. His mind clawed to stay conscious. He couldn't go down like this. He wouldn't. Not here. Not now, sir. Amadou, his most loyal, had rushed into the room. Panic carved into his face. "Stay with me, Ibrahim. We've got you." Ibrahim's head swam, the world tilting on its axis. He could hear Captain Mamadou barking orders, calling for medical support, demanding a lockdown of the entire palace. Ibrahim clung to the final threads of awareness, refusing to slip into darkness. But just before everything went black, one thought echoed in his mind: who could have done this? The world around Ibrahim Traoré blurred, his bodyguards rushing into the office, pulling him away from the blood-stained desk where he had collapsed. His chest was on fire. The pain pulsed through him, heat radiating from the wound. They dragged him through the hallway. He was conscious, but barely. Every breath was a battle. Despite the chaos outside, it all felt too quiet. His mind raced, trying to stay grounded to process the unthinkable attack, but the blood loss was taking over. "I'm not done yet," Ibrahim whispered, his voice hoarse but defiant. Amadou pressed hard against the wound, desperately trying to stop the bleeding. Ibrahim's vision flickered. The pressure of it all was suffocating. He was the president of Burkina Faso, the nation's leader, and someone had just tried to erase him. The pain in his side was unbearable, but even deeper was the pain of betrayal. Who planned this? Who let this happen? His men, his best guards, were with him, the most elite, the most trusted, and yet, it still happened. They moved quickly, guiding him down the palace corridor toward the secure medical chamber. Ibrahim's thoughts screamed with a single question: who did this? Yes, the country had enemies, but this didn't feel like just another attack. This was personal, calculated, strategic, a message, not just an assassination. A blow meant to shatter his rule and unravel the order he had worked so hard to build, and the fact that it happened inside the palace, surrounded by 200 armed guards, made it clear whoever was behind it had resources, power, and an intimate knowledge of his movements. Inside the medical room, the doctors worked frantically, checking vitals, stitching the wound, struggling to stabilize him. The bullet had narrowly missed his organs, a miracle, but the damage was still severe. The pain, the blood loss, the fear, all very real. His heart rate spiked. The doctors warned him, stay still, rest, but resting wasn't an option. This was no random act of violence. It was the first move in a much larger game. He could feel it. In his gut, "I need answers." "Now," Ibrahim said, his voice weak, but filled with authority. He locked eyes with Amadou. "Find out who did this. Don't stop until you know everything." Amadou, always composed in the face of danger, nodded solemnly. "Of course, sir, we'll find them, but you need to stay calm. You've been hurt." "I can't afford to stay calm," Ibrahim replied, gritting his teeth and trying to push through the pain as he sat up on the medical table. "This is bigger than me, Amadou. I can feel it. Someone is trying to destroy everything we've worked for. They won't stop with me." Amadou didn't argue. Instead, he moved swiftly, instructing the medical staff to monitor Ibrahim's condition closely and ordering the security team to begin an immediate investigation. The palace was now on full lockdown, every exit sealed, every visitor monitored. No one in or out without clearance. But Ibrahim wasn't just concerned about the shooter or the immediate threat. He knew this attack was only the tip of the iceberg. As the hours passed and the doctors finally managed to stabilize him, Ibrahim's mind remained elsewhere. He couldn't rest. His presidency, the future of Burkina Faso, his very survival, depended on uncovering the truth. There were no easy answers, no quick solutions. All he knew for certain was this: the bullet was only the beginning of something far more sinister. This wasn't just an assassination attempt, it was a coordinated conspiracy, engineered by someone with access, influence, and intent. And if Ibrahim didn't act fast, everything he had fought for could collapse. His thoughts turned to those closest to him, his aides, his generals, his advisors, people he had trusted with his life. And that's when the realization struck him. The enemy wasn't just outside the gates. The betrayal had come from within. He wasn't only fighting to stay alive, he was fighting to expose the treason that had been festering in the shadows for far too long. In the days that followed, Ibrahim launched his own personal investigation. His elite security team combed through every detail, every second of palace surveillance footage, every document, every digital communication that had passed through the government systems. They tracked the movements of every bodyguard, crossed visitors, dug into records, names, faces. It was slow, painstaking work, but essential. Still, with every lead they followed, Ibrahim's instincts whispered one chilling truth: this plot runs deeper than anyone imagined. And then finally, the breakthrough came. Amadou entered the room, his face grim. In his hands, a folder bursting with printed documents. "Sir," he said quietly, "we've discovered something. The shooter, the one who fired at you, was connected to someone high up, someone trusted." Ibrahim's heart skipped a beat. Amadou's voice dropped. "General Yam," silenced. "He's been in contact with the assassin," Amadou continued. "His records show secret meetings with mercenaries and suspicious financial transactions. All of it links back to him. This wasn't just a random attack," he added. "It's part of a larger scheme, and it's coming from within your own ranks." Ibrahim's mind raced, the implications crashing over him like a wave. General Yam, more than just a military leader, he had been a friend, a trusted ally, someone who had sat with him in crisis rooms, stood beside him in national emergencies. The betrayal hit like another bullet. "You're sure about this?" Ibrahim asked, his voice cold, controlled. Amadou nodded, eyes heavy. "Yes, sir. The evidence points directly to him." Ibrahim's eyes narrowed, his resolve hardening like steel. The battle for his life was far from over. Someone from the inside, someone with access to his every move, had tried to kill him. He wouldn't let this stand. He couldn't. "We need to bring him in," Ibrahim said, his voice low and deadly. I want General Yamayo in front of me now." The room was silent, the air thick with tension. Ibrahim Traoré sat behind his desk, in a secure wing of the palace, the weight of betrayal pressing down like a stone. He had survived the assassination attempt, but now, the real war had begun. The reckoning had begun. General Yamayogo, once one of Ibrahim's closest allies, had been exposed as a traitor. The information Amadou had uncovered hit Ibrahim like a freight train. Yamayogo wasn't just involved in the plot, he was one of its masterminds, working hand in hand with foreign operatives, mercenaries, and corrupt officials in a bid to seize control of Burkina Faso. Ibrahim's breath quickened. He gripped the edge of the desk, his knuckles white with tension. The betrayal burned deeper than the bullet. Yamayogo had been by his side, trusted beyond question. A man he would have died for, and now he had sold out his country for power, for greed. Ibrahim had never imagined the knife would come from someone so close. It wasn't just treason, it was personal. The government, the military, the very foundation of power infiltrated. The conspiracy went deeper than he ever imagined. He couldn't let it grow. He wouldn't. This was no longer about vengeance. This was about survival. The assassin had nearly succeeded, and now Ibrahim understood. Yamayogo's betrayal was the catalyst for everything. Ibrahim's mind snapped into sharp focus. He looked at Amadou, eyes cold. "We need to find Yamayogo," he said, voice steady but full of steel. "He must be brought to me now." Amadou straightened, jaw tight. "We've already tracked him, sir. He's holed up in a safe house on the outskirts of the capital. We believe he's gathering support from what's left of his network." Ibrahim's fists clenched. "I want him alive. He needs to face what he's done. Prepare the team." The next few hours moved like a storm. His security force mobilized, weapons armed, routes mapped. The convoy was loaded within minutes, black armored vehicles cutting through the night, like knives. As they sped through the capital, Ibrahim stared out the window, his mind racing. Yamayogo hadn't just betrayed him, he had betrayed the people of Burkina Faso. This wasn't about power anymore. It was about the soul of the nation. If Yamayogo was allowed to continue, he would stop at nothing until everything Ibrahim had fought to rebuild was reduced to ash. In the distance, a safe house emerged, a grim concrete structure against the darkening sky. The convoy pulled in silently. Ibrahim could feel the weight of the moment settle like a stone in his chest. This was it, the final confrontation. His team surrounded the building with military precision. Quick, coordinated, ruthless. The house was too quiet, too still. The tension was suffocating. Then the door was kicked open. The team stormed inside, weapons drawn. Ibrahim followed closely, his heartbeat thunderous in his ears. His eyes scanned the room. And there in the far corner stood General Yamayogo. Calm, as if he had been waiting. Their eyes locked. Ibrahim felt something stir in his chest. Was it regret? No, not from Yamayogo. There was no remorse in his stare, only cold calculation. "You've made a grave mistake," Yamayogo said quietly, his voice low, steady, chilling. "You think you can stop this? You think you can stand against forces already in motion?" Ibrahim stepped forward, his eyes sharp as blades. "You betrayed me, Yogo. You betrayed your country. You thought you could tear us apart, but you're wrong. It ends today." Yamayogo smirked. "You still don't understand, do you? This was never about you. It's about the future. You, Ibrahim, you were never meant to be a part of it. I'm doing what needs to be done to secure Burkina Faso's place in the world. You were just a pawn, a temporary figure in a much larger game." Ibrahim's anger flared, but he remained in control. "You'll answer for what you've done," he said. "Your time is up, General." The room fell silent, the kind of silence that only comes before history changes forever. Ibrahim could feel it pressing down on him, not just the confrontation with a traitor, but the weight of a country hanging in the balance. Ibrahim stood face to face with everything that had gone wrong, not just with one man, but with a system, with the people who had exploited Burkina Faso for their own selfish gain. General Yamayogo's smirk faltered, his eyes darkened. "You think you've won, don't you?" he said, voice dripping with venom. "But the truth is you've already lost. You're too late. This country is already under our control. You were never meant to lead it. And now that you're out of the picture, we'll finish what we started. Ibrahim's hand tightened on the grip of his holstered weapon. "You're wrong, Yamayogo. You won't control Burkina Faso. The people won't let you. I won't let you." The words hit the air like thunder, heavy, final, irreversible. The betrayal, the assassination attempt, the foreign puppeteers pulling the strings. It all came down to this moment. This wasn't just personal vengeance. It was war for the soul of a nation. "I'm not done yet," Ibrahim said coldly. "Take him into custody." His security team moved fast, but Yamayogo wasn't finished. He reached for a concealed weapon at his side. Too slow, Ibrahim's guards were faster, tackling him, disarming him, forcing him to the ground before he could fire a single shot. As Yamayogo was dragged away, in restraints, Ibrahim stood in silence, breathing hard, the weight of the confrontation pressing down on him. The conspiracy was no longer a theory. It was real, and it had nearly cost him his life. But now, there was no turning back. Ibrahim Traoré's body still ached from his wounds, but his mind was clear, his resolve sharper than ever. The general was captured, but the battle was far from over. As news of Yamayogo's arrest spread, a dark cloud seemed to descend over Burkina Faso. Yamayogo, he was just a pawn. The real players were still out there, still moving, still dangerous, and Ibrahim knew he had to uncover the full extent of the plot before the country fell into chaos. Back in his secure office, he sat in silence, the burden of national survival resting squarely on his shoulders. His advisors worked tirelessly decoding intercepted communications, tracking suspicious financial flows, analyzing every piece of intel from Yamayogo's collapsed network. But the threat wasn't just internal. Foreign powers were involved: influence campaigns, contracted mercenaries, political manipulation. The longer it took to unravel this conspiracy, the closer Burkina Faso came to the edge. Then the door burst open. Amadou entered, his face grim, a thick folder clutched in his hand. "Sir," he said urgently, "we've traced the final connections. It's bigger than we thought." Ibrahim's pulse quickened. "The plot doesn't end with Yamayogo," Amadou continued. "There are foreign diplomats, military contractors, and we've identified a key figure behind it all. Karamo." The name hit like a sledgehammer. Ibrahim's eyes widened. "Diarra," he breathed. "Yes," Amadou said. "He's been orchestrating the operation from the shadows. Ties to multinational corporations, foreign intelligence networks. He's been moving money, men, and weapons under our noses for months." Karamoko Diarra, a former diplomat, a respected statesman. Ibrahim had known him, trusted him. He had once represented Burkina Faso to the world, but now he was pulling strings to tear it apart. Ibrahim's voice dropped to a cold whisper. "I want him found. I want him in front of me. And I want him to tell me everything." Amadou nodded. "We're on it, sir. We have a lead. He's in a compound near the city, heavily guarded. But if we move fast, we can reach him before he disappears." Ibrahim stood, his body still bruised, his strength still returning, but his will unshaken. He had survived an assassination attempt, uncovered a betrayal that ran through his own military, exposed a conspiracy that reached international heights. But now the real war was beginning. The future of Burkina Faso hung in the balance, and Ibrahim Traoré was ready for the next battle. Diarra was one of the final pieces. Ibrahim wasn't just fighting for his life anymore, he was fighting for Burkina Faso. The nation stood at the edge of collapse, and he had no time to lose. "Get the team ready," Ibrahim ordered, his voice steady despite the rising tension. "In the room, we leave in 20 minutes. As the convoy approached the compound on the outskirts of the city, the air grew thick, dust hanging heavy, the scent of danger just beneath it. Ibrahim's heart pounded in his chest, but his resolve was steel. This was it. The final confrontation. The compound loomed in the distance, surrounded by cracked walls and guarded silence. Ibrahim's security team moved swiftly, encircling the building with military precision. The plan was simple: infiltrate, capture, extract, bring Diarra back alive, interrogate, expose the rest of the conspiracy. But Ibrahim knew nothing about this was going to be simple. They had already survived one ambush, and Diarra's reach was wide, dangerously wide. There was no telling what lay behind those walls. With Amadou at his side, Ibrahim led the charge, entering the compound's shadowy interior. Every creak of wood, every whisper of air, felt like a warning. Weapons drawn, they moved through the corridors with disciplined precision until they reached the central chamber. And there he was, Karamoko Diarra, sitting in the center of the room, as calm as ever, as if he had been waiting. His eyes met Ibrahim's cold, defiant, calculating. "You've come," Ibrahim Diarra said, his voice smooth, laced with venom. "I knew you would, but it's too late. The plan is already in motion. You can't stop it." Ibrahim stepped forward, his gaze sharp and unwavering. "The plan is over, Diarra. You're under arrest for treason, conspiracy, and the attempt on my life. It's finished." Diarra laughed darkly, rising from his seat. "You think you can stop this? You think you can expose everything and save your precious Burkina Faso?" He stepped closer. "You're nothing but a puppet, Ibrahim. You've been played from the start. And now, you'll fall, like the rest." The words struck deep, but Ibrahim didn't flinch. "No, Diarra. This is where it ends. I survived your bullet. I exposed your network. And now, I'll make sure you face the consequences of your betrayal." The room seemed to freeze. The silence was heavy, electric. Diarra's glare was fire, but Ibrahim's calm was colder than steel. His men stepped forward to apprehend the traitor, but then bang, the doors slammed shut. Gunfire erupted from every direction. It was an ambush. Smoke filled the compound. Bullets tore through walls. Diarra had planned this. He wasn't going down quietly, but neither was Ibrahim Traoré. Chaos broke loose as Ibrahim's team engaged. In a fierce shootout with Diarra's mercenaries, the compound shook with the sounds of war, shouting, gunfire, glass shattering. Ibrahim moved with focused precision, dodging bullets, guiding his men through the fog of combat. He wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for his country's soul. Finally cornered, weaponless Diarra stood against a wall, surrounded, his face twisted in rage. "You won't win, Ibrahim," he spat. "You're already dead. Even if I fall, others will rise. You can't stop us." Ibrahim stepped forward, calm and unflinching. "Not today. This is our victory, Diarra, and you will answer for your crimes." The compound fell, silent. Smoke drifted through the halls. The gunfire had stopped. The battle was over. The conspirators had been exposed. Their ringleader captured, but Ibrahim knew the war was far from over. This victory wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a longer, harder fight for justice. He had survived another assassination attempt, uncovered the faces behind a sprawling international conspiracy. But he hadn't been lucky. He had been ready, chosen, relentless, because Ibrahim Traoré wasn't just the president, he was the protector of a nation under siege. Ibrahim Traoré has survived yet another attempt on his life, and exposed a conspiracy threatening the very core of Burkina Faso, with Diarra and his foreign allies now in custody. One question remains: what's next for the future of the nation? The future of the nation.